Let's see. Is Camille still on the phone? We also have Haley.
Okay.
Hey, it's you.
We have a live person.
Hi. Oh, can I have my card so I know what to say?
Yeah. What did I ask?
Did she get a thing, Eric? Wait, where'd Eric go?
Do we do things? Do we have things? Are they supposed to get things? I don't know. Are we still doing the bling thing? Swag? Thank you. I've actually been corrected on that. It was like, it's not bling, it's swag.
Go.
So I'm super excited that Godless Bitches is back
Oh,
because
thank
I
you.
was such a fan before, and I just found out now that it is back. So I'm super excited.
Yes, we're back.
So along that same line, how can we increase the number of women in the movement and kind of amplify their voices?
I have an opinion about that, but I'm going to shut up.
No, go. By all means, go.
Don't leave me to answer this question, being a guy explaining to
If
other
it starts
guys
to go bad,
how
I'll
to get
kick
more
you under the
women.
table. I'll be like, no, stop. I'll take it.
Well, you're really going to make me do this?
If you're not comfortable, I'll take it. I mean,
No,
I can start it, and then you can
start
chime
it,
in. All right. So, I just want to say, I don't know what it is about me, but I don't tend to experience a lot of the harassment that I know that a lot of other women in the movement experience. It may just be that I'm not as engaged with people directly. So there are some bloggers, for example, that are very engaged, directly with their audience, and you can go to their blogs and see the horrendous commentary. So, I mean, there is no question but that this kind of ugliness occurs. Now, part of the problem that happens, and I don't know that this is going to be so much a fix as just if people are more aware of this, maybe they can think about their behavior a little bit differently, or things they say or things they think. I had a young woman that was in another area of the country, and she wanted to know if there was a secular community she could go and talk to. She was living with her family. She was a young adult, but still lived at home, and her family was extremely, extremely conservative Christian, and she was not out. So it was kind of risky for her to kind of go out, but she had, because it's such a conservative Christian group that she was with, obviously they teach you that you are just like nothing. Women are, you're nothing. You caused the fall of man. You are handed to your husband by your dad, and if something happens to you or you're sexually assaulted, then you're just kind of ruined because, who wants damaged goods? And so this is the attitude she's coming out of. And so she goes to this meetup, and she writes me back, and she says, hey, I went to the meetup at the local group that you identified, right? And this was not a group that I was familiar with. I just found them online, and I said, they seem to be near your area. And the first time she attended, she got her ass grabbed. Right? So this is a young woman who's already kind of nervous about going out and introducing herself to this new community. She's already used to be treated like chattel. And then she goes there and someone grabs her ass. And she did the right thing. She let the group know. She reported it to their leadership, who said it's okay because that member is gay, so don't take it seriously. I mean, you have to take it seriously. You can't not take it seriously, because you have to look at a lot of the people within the atheist community are coming from religious backgrounds. And when you come out of a religious background, a lot of these young women are thinking to themselves, finally, I get to interact with people who are not going to look at me like I'm less human, like I'm a thing, like I'm only as valuable as will I date them. Like I'm going to show up at the meetup and 6 guys are going to be talking to me, but only because they're hoping they get my number at the end of the night. They have to be valued more than that. And like I said, from an individual standpoint, if I'm the person that's addressing this, like I'm there and this young woman, she's attractive, she comes in, she's cute, she's very interested, she's an atheist. There aren't that many atheist cute women that come to our meetups. We never see them, so I'm so excited, right? And so I really want to talk to her, and I really want to get to know her, and I'd love to meet an atheist girl that I can date. But I mean, you cannot put that kind of pressure on somebody right when they walk in the door. You really have to back off and say, let the person come into the group. They're not just there for dating fodder.
to me as the president of an atheist community, and again, I'm going to give this disclaimer because people often, men will ask other men, why don't you have more women? And my first answer is always, why don't you ask the women first? A lot of atheist organizations pay lip service to wanting more women in the movement, but then through their actions don't necessarily encourage people. So you've got, first of all, the uphill problem that the atheist community is mostly men. And I experienced that kind of environment in two parts of my life because, again, I'm a software engineer, and that's a somewhat skewed demographic. As well as also being an enthusiastic gamer and hearing actual active pushback all the time when women want to get involved with gaming or talk about gaming or just get on their microphones and the first thing some idiot says is, oh, make me a sandwich. You have to take the concerns of women seriously. When they tell you what their concerns are. And you have to, I mean, people act like it's some crystal ball that you need to have to know whether someone whether someone might want to date you or not. And what, am I never supposed to ask anyone out? But the answer is just, if they say they don't want you to do something, then don't do it. Or if they look like they're afraid to say that they don't want to do something, then don't do it. And also take the voices of women seriously with respect to the things that they have to say, because I've seen some studies going around that even when the exact same claim comes out of a woman or a man, people are more likely to assume the woman is lying. And there's all kinds of situations where a woman will speak up in like a business meeting and say something, and all the men in the room will just glaze over, and then a man will say, I think what she was trying to say is, and then everybody will say, yeah, man, good idea. Don't just say you want more women in the community. Be ready to welcome them and take them seriously and address the things that are their problems. And if they say someone's harassing them, maybe default to thinking, yeah, they're probably being harassed and don't like it.
Yeah, it's kind of, you know, so down with me too. And there's a lot of stories, I guess, just, you know, listen to those stories and listen to those experiences and try to, you know, understand where people are coming from. It's putting yourself in someone else's shoes, I think, is a very important exercise, especially when we're dealing with somebody that might be in a minority community, or even in the case of women, not really a minority, but treated like a minority community in a lot of ways. So for me, raising awareness around the experience of the other so that other people can kind of maybe get some insight into that, because there's a little, I saw this really interesting thing that was posted online. It was an artist who said he heard a conversation between two uncles who were talking about the good old days, you know, when men were men and women were women. And he went and found these mainstream advertisements that were horrendously sexist with visuals. And he took those ads and then he redid them with models and had the men in the women's position and the women in the men's position and put those ads online. And so I just thought that's kind of a funny thing, and I clicked on it and I started to look at the images, and it made me really uncomfortable. Like, looking at those images, I had a weird reaction that I didn't expect. I felt uncomfortable by looking at them. Part of what made me uncomfortable was seeing the woman in the image behaving toward the men in this way that I found reprehensible. And so I felt like I don't want to be that character. And from the time I was younger, I'd always looked at those ads and thought to myself, it sucks to be the person in the ad who's being stepped on. But then when I looked at it from the other way, I thought, it's scary to be the person in the ad that's doing the stepping. Like, that frightens me. And I kind of thought to myself for the first time, instead of what is it like for women, what is it like for me to grow up, what has that done to me to grow up in a world where I'm looked at like these advertisements that, you know, were in vogue when my parents were, you know, alive and kicking. And for the first time I thought, what is it like to grow up in a world where you're portrayed like that man? What is it like to grow up in a world where you're constantly portrayed as this domineering thing that dominates and subjugates these other things? What does that do to your head, right? That would mess up my head in a different way. But in some ways, instead of thinking about how do I get past that role of subjugation that I've been subjected to all this time, I had to think, how would I get past that role of subjugating? And so I think it's pretty fair to at least come to the table, and I'm not saying that this is on women because I don't believe that it is, but I'm saying that for the first time I thought to myself, maybe an understanding that this person is dealing with a lifetime of being taught to subjugate can help me think of ways to communicate what I've gone through and what it's like to be the person subjugated, because it's not something they're going to easily understand.